Something satisfying is about to happen this week, Scorpio. And the most powerful part is that almost nobody around you will see it coming. You have been carrying something heavy for longer than most people realize. A feeling, a tension, a kind of invisible weight that sits right behind your eyes and makes even the simplest decisions feel exhausting. But this week, something begins to shift. Not in a loud or dramatic way. Not in the way that makes everyone stop and stare. No, this shift is quiet. It is internal. It is the kind of change that starts deep inside your chest and then slowly moves outward until the people around you begin to notice that something about you is different, even though they cannot quite explain what it is. You are entering a phase where you stop explaining yourself, stop defending your choices, and stop waiting for the right moment to finally step forward. The right moment, Scorpio, is now. And the energy surrounding you this week is practically begging you to claim it. But here is the thing most people will not tell you. Power that is taken back quietly is the kind that lasts. The loud declarations, the dramatic exits, the big announcements. Those fade. What remains is the decision you make when no one is watching. The boundary you hold when no one claps for you. The choice you make to stop shrinking so that other people can feel comfortable. That is real power. And this week, it is yours for the taking. So stay with me through every single section of this message, because each one builds on the last, and by the end, you are going to understand exactly why this week matters more than you think. Tip 1. Your silence this week is not avoidance, it is strategy. There is a difference between being quiet because you are afraid and being quiet because you are calculating. This week, Scorpio, your silence falls firmly into the second category. You have spent a long time observing, absorbing, and processing things that other people say and do around you. You have watched patterns repeat. You have noticed who shows up and who disappears. You have tracked the rhythm of your own life with a precision that most people will never understand. And now all of that observation is about to pay off in a way that feels almost effortless. But let me be clear about something. It is not effortless. It only looks that way from the outside. What is actually happening is that you have done so much invisible work, so much emotional labor, so much internal restructuring, that the results are finally beginning to surface. And they are surfacing through your silence. This is not the silence of someone who has nothing to say. This is the silence of someone who has so much clarity that words feel almost unnecessary. You know what you want. You know what you are done tolerating. You know where your energy belongs and where it does not. And instead of announcing all of this to the world, you are simply going to start living it. Quietly, deliberately, without apology. There is a kind of strength in this approach that most people overlook. Society teaches us that power looks like volume, that authority looks like dominance, that confidence looks like never shutting up. But you and I both know that is not true. The most powerful person in any room is often the one who speaks the least but watches the most. The one who does not react to every provocation. The one who lets other people reveal themselves while keeping their own cards close. That is you this week. And the reason this matters is because there are decisions coming your way, real decisions, the kind that shape your next several months, and you need to be operating from a place of calm authority rather than emotional reactivity. If you make choices this week based on how you feel in the heat of the moment, you will regret them. But if you make choices based on what you have been quietly observing for weeks, possibly even months, you will look back on this period as one of the smartest stretches of your life. So when someone tries to pull you into an argument this week, do not take the bait. When someone questions your direction, do not justify yourself. When someone tries to make you feel guilty for choosing yourself, do not absorb that guilt. Let it pass through you like wine through an open window. You do not need to fight every battle that presents itself. Some battles are won simply by refusing to engage. And this week, your refusal to engage is not weakness. It is the most powerful weapon you have. Pay attention to how people respond when you stop reacting. Pay attention to who gets uncomfortable when you are no longer available to manage their emotions. That discomfort is not your problem. It is theirs. And the sooner you let yourself believe that, the sooner this week begins to feel like the turning point it is meant to be. Your silence is speaking louder than any words could. Let it do its work. Tip 2. A financial opportunity is forming, but it requires patience you may not want to give. Money has been on your mind more than usual lately, Scorpio, and not in the casual way that most people think about it. This is not about wanting more for the sake of having more. This is about security. This is about freedom. This is about finally building something that gives you options instead of trapping you in a cycle of working just to survive. And this week, the energy around your finances begins to shift in a way that deserves your full attention. But here is where it gets tricky. The opportunity that is forming is not going to look the way you expect it to look. It might come disguised as a small conversation, a passing mention from someone you did not think had relevant information, a message you almost ignore, a thought that crosses your mind while you are doing something completely unrelated. The universe does not always send financial breakthroughs wrapped in golden paper with a bow on top. Sometimes it sends them wrapped in ordinary moments, and the only people who catch them are the ones who are paying close enough attention. You are one of those people this week, but only if you resist the urge to rush. Patience is not your favorite word, I know. When you see something you want, your natural instinct is to move toward it immediately, to lock it down, to secure it before anyone else has the chance. And in many situations, that instinct serves you well. But in this case, moving too fast could actually cause you to miss the bigger picture. There is a larger structure forming around your financial life right now, something that goes beyond a single paycheck or a single opportunity, and if you give it just a little more time to take shape, you will be in a much stronger position to act. Think of it like planting a seed. You do not dig up the seed every day to check if it is growing. You water it, you give it sunlight, you trust the process, and then one morning you look out and something green is pushing through the soil, and you realize that all that patience was not wasted. It was essential. That is what is happening with your financial energy right now. Something is growing beneath the surface, something that has roots deeper than you realize. And this week, your job is not to force it to bloom. Your job is to protect it, to keep watering it, to stop letting doubt make you question whether it is even worth the effort. It is worth the effort, every bit of it. And the proof is coming, but it is coming on its own timeline, not yours. There is also something here about how you value your own skills and abilities. You have been underpricing yourself in some area of your life, and you know it. Whether it is the work you do for others, the time you give away for free, or the energy you pour into projects that never pay you back, there is an imbalance that needs correcting. This week gives you the clarity to see exactly where that imbalance is. But seeing it and fixing it are two different things. Fixing it requires you to hold your ground when someone pushes back. It requires you to name your worth out loud and not flinch when the room goes quiet. It requires you to believe, deep in your bones, that what you bring to the table has real measurable value, and that anyone who cannot see that is not your audience. This is the week you start treating your financial life like something sacred instead of something stressful, and it begins with patience. If what you're hearing feels accurate, imagine what could happen if you applied this energy intentionally for 21 consecutive days. That's exactly what the 21-day program in the pinned comment is built for. Daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you're tired of staying in the same cycle, this is your structure. Tip 3. Someone from your past is thinking about you, and you need to be ready for what that means. This is not a coincidence, Scorpio. The person who keeps crossing your mind, the one whose name you have not said out loud in a while but whose presence still lingers in certain corners of your memory. They are thinking about you too. And this week, there is a strong possibility that some kind of contact will occur. It might be direct like a message or a phone call, or it might be indirect like hearing their name mentioned in a conversation you were not expecting to have. Either way, the energy of this connection is active, and you need to be prepared for how it might affect you. Because here is what most people will not tell you about past connections, especially for Scorpio. They never fully leave your system. You are not the kind of person who loves lightly or forgets easily. When you let someone into your inner world, they become a part of your emotional architecture in a way that is nearly permanent. And even when the relationship ends, even when you have done the work to move forward, there is still a thread that connects you to that person, and sometimes that thread vibrates. This week it is vibrating, but you need to be honest with yourself about what you actually want here. Are you drawn to this person because you genuinely believe there is unfinished business that deserves attention? Or are you drawn to them because the familiarity feels easier than the uncertainty of something new? That is not a judgment. It is a real question. And the answer matters more than you might think. Because if you re-engage with this person from a place of nostalgia rather than genuine alignment, you are going to end up right back in the same cycle you already worked so hard to leave. The universe is not bringing this person back into your awareness as a punishment. It is bringing them back as a test of your growth, a test of your boundaries, a test of whether you have truly internalized the lessons that relationship was designed to teach you. And the way you respond this week will tell you everything you need to know about where you actually stand. If you feel a pull toward them and it comes from a calm, centered place inside you, then maybe there is something worth exploring. But if the pull feels desperate or anxious, or like you are trying to fill a void rather than build something real, then the healthiest thing you can do is acknowledge the feeling without acting on it. You do not owe every emotion a response. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for the other person, is to simply notice what is coming up and let it move through you without turning it into a decision. This week is asking you to be emotionally mature in a way that might feel uncomfortable. It is asking you to hold space for complexity without rushing toward resolution. It is asking you to trust that if something is truly meant for you, it will not require you to abandon everything you have built in order to receive it. And that is where your real power lies this week. Not in chasing what was, but in standing firmly in what is, and allowing whatever comes next to prove itself worthy of your time, your energy, and your heart. Tip 4. Your body is sending you signals you have been ignoring, and this is the week to start listening. You have been pushing through something physical for a while now, Scorpio, and you know exactly what I am talking about. That tightness in your neck, that heaviness in your lower back, that strange fatigue that hits you at odd hours, not because you have been doing too much physically, but because your body is carrying the weight of everything your mind refuses to put down. Your body is not separate from your emotional life. It is a direct extension of it. And this week, it is practically shouting at you to pay attention. The problem is that you are incredibly good at ignoring discomfort. You have been trained by life, by necessity, by sheer stubbornness, to push through pain and keep going no matter what. And in many situations, that ability has saved you. It has gotten you through periods of your life that would have broken other people. But right now, that same survival skill is working against you because the thing your body needs this week is not endurance. It is tenderness. It is the kind of care that does not come naturally to someone who has spent most of their life in fight mode. This is not about going to see a medical professional, although if you need to, you should. This is about the daily, hourly, moment-by-moment relationship you have with your physical self. When was the last time you drank a full glass of water without being reminded? When was the last time you went to sleep at a reasonable hour, not because you collapsed from exhaustion, but because you chose rest deliberately? When was the last time you moved your body in a way that felt good rather than punishing? These questions matter, Scorpio. They matter because your body is the only vehicle you have for this life. And if you burn it out, no amount of spiritual insight or mental clarity is going to help you. You cannot build the future you want from a body that is running on fumes. And this week, the universe is asking you to make a different choice. Not a dramatic one, not a total lifestyle overhaul. Just one small, deliberate act of care every single day. Maybe it is stretching for 10 minutes in the morning. Maybe it is eating something nourishing instead of whatever is fastest. Maybe it is turning off the screen an hour before bed and letting your nervous system actually wind down. Whatever it is, do it. And do it without judgment, without turning it into another task on your to-do list, without making it about productivity. Do it because your body has been loyal to you through every difficult season of your life, and it deserves to be treated like an ally rather than a machine. There is something else here too, something deeper. Your body stores memories that your mind has tried to forget. Tension in your shoulders might be connected to a burden you took on years ago that was never yours to carry. Tightness in your jaw might be linked to all the things you wanted to say but swallowed instead. Pain in your stomach might be the physical expression of anxiety you have been suppressing because you did not feel safe enough to feel it fully. This week, as you begin to listen to your body more closely, some of these stored emotions might start to surface. Do not be alarmed by this. Do not try to push them back down. Let them come. Let them move through you. Let them leave. Because on the other side of that release is a kind of lightness you have not felt in a very long time. Tip 5. A conversation you have been avoiding is going to find you whether you are ready or not. You have been putting something off, Scorpio, and deep down you know it. There is a conversation that needs to happen. One that involves honesty, vulnerability, and a level of directness that makes your stomach tighten just thinking about it. Maybe it is with a family member. Maybe it is with someone you live with. Maybe it is with yourself. But whoever it involves, the energy of this week is making it nearly impossible to keep avoiding it. The universe has a way of forcing things to the surface when they have been buried for too long. And this particular truth has been underground for long enough. Now, before you panic, let me say this. The conversation does not have to be as terrifying as you are imagining it. In fact, most of the fear you are feeling is not about the conversation itself. It is about what you think will happen after the conversation. You are afraid of how the other person might react. You are afraid that saying the truth will change something permanently. You are afraid that once the words leave your mouth, you will not be able to take them back. And you are right about that last part. You will not be able to take them back. But here is what you are wrong about. You are wrong about assuming that the change will be negative. Sometimes the truth does not destroy things. Sometimes it rebuilds them. Sometimes it clears away all the pretense and performance and people-pleasing, and what remains is something raw and real and actually worth holding on to. You have been protecting a version of a relationship that does not actually exist. You have been maintaining peace by suppressing your own needs, and that is not peace. That is performance. Real peace comes from knowing that the people in your life are seeing the real you, not the version you constructed to keep everyone comfortable. And this week, the mask starts to crack. Not because you are falling apart, but because you are finally becoming too strong to keep wearing it. The conversation might happen on your terms, or it might happen because circumstances force it into the open. Either way, your job is not to control how it unfolds. Your job is to show up honestly and let the chips fall where they may. You do not need to rehearse your words. You do not need to prepare a speech. You just need to be willing to say what is true, even if your voice shakes, even if the other person does not respond the way you hoped, even if the room gets very quiet and stays that way for a while. Silence after truth is not a sign that something went wrong. It is a sign that something real just entered the space, and everyone needs a moment to adjust. Give them that moment. Give yourself that moment. And then watch what happens next, because what comes after honest conversation is almost always better than what existed before it. You might lose something this week, Scorpio. A dynamic, a pattern, a way of relating to someone that has been comfortable but not authentic. And that loss might sting. But what you gain in its place will be worth so much more than what you released. Tip 6. Your creative energy is peaking. And if you do not use it, it will turn into restlessness. There is something inside you right now that wants to come out, Scorpio, and it is not an emotion. It is not a thought. It is something bigger, something that lives in the space between your mind and your hands, something that wants to be shaped, expressed, made visible in the physical world. This is your creative energy, and this week it is running at a level you have not experienced in a very long time. But here is the thing about creative energy that most people do not understand. It does not wait politely. It does not sit quietly in the corner until you are ready to deal with it. If you ignore it, it transforms. It becomes restlessness, irritability, a vague sense of dissatisfaction that you cannot quite explain. You start picking fights with people who have done nothing wrong. You start feeling trapped in situations that were perfectly fine yesterday. You start craving change without knowing what you actually want to change. All of that is creative energy looking for an outlet and not finding one. So this week, give it somewhere to go. And before you say you are not creative, let me stop you right there. Creativity is not limited to painting or writing or music. Creativity is problem solving. Creativity is rearranging your living space in a way that makes you feel more alive. Creativity is cooking a meal without following a recipe. Creativity is having a conversation where you say something you have never said before. It is any act of bringing something new into existence, no matter how small, no matter how imperfect, no matter how invisible to the rest of the world. The point is not to create something impressive. The point is to create something honest, something that moves the energy from inside you to outside you, something that takes the pressure off your nervous system by giving your inner world a physical form. You might feel drawn to writing this week, even if you have never considered yourself a writer. You might feel drawn to working with your hands, building something, fixing something, organizing something that has been chaotic for too long. You might feel drawn to music, not necessarily playing it, but listening to it with a kind of deep attention that feels almost like meditation. Whatever calls to you, follow it. Do not question it. Do not analyze it. Do not wait until you feel inspired enough or skilled enough or ready enough. Just start, because the act of starting is what unlocks everything else. You do not need to finish anything this week. You do not need to produce a masterpiece. You just need to open the door, and let the creative current start moving through you. Once it starts moving, it has a wisdom of its own. It will show you things about yourself that your conscious mind has been trying to figure out for months. It will answer questions you did not even know you were asking. It will release tension you did not even know you were holding. And it will remind you that you are not just a person who survives difficult things. You are also a person who makes beautiful things. You are also a person who has something to offer the world that nobody else can provide. That part of you has been sleeping, Scorpio. This week it wakes up. Tip 7. A decision about your living situation or home life is becoming urgent. Something about your home, your living space, your domestic environment has been unsettled for longer than it should have been, Scorpio. And this week the energy around that situation reaches a tipping point. Maybe it is a literal decision about where you live, whether to stay or go, whether to renew or release, whether to invest in the space you are in or start looking for something that fits you better. Or maybe it is something less tangible but equally important, a shift in the emotional atmosphere of your home, a change in how you feel when you walk through the door, a growing awareness that the space you occupy does not match the person you are becoming. Either way, the status quo is no longer sustainable, and the universe is making that painfully clear this week. Home is not just a physical location for you, Scorpio. It is a reflection of your inner state. When your home feels cluttered, your mind feels cluttered. When your home feels cold or unwelcoming, your heart feels the same way. And when your home feels like a place where you can truly be yourself, where you can let your guard down and exhale completely, everything else in your life starts to function better. So this week, pay attention to what your living space is telling you. Walk through each room and notice how you feel. Are there areas that make you feel heavy or stuck? Are there objects you are holding onto out of obligation rather than genuine attachment? Are there changes you have been wanting to make but kept putting off because you told yourself they did not matter enough? They matter. They matter more than you think. Because your environment shapes your energy, and your energy shapes your decisions, and your decisions shape your life. It is all connected. And this week you have the chance to start at the foundation, your home, and work outward. This might also involve a conversation with someone you share your space with. There may be dynamics that need to be addressed, boundaries that need to be established, agreements that need to be renegotiated. This is not about conflict. This is about creating an environment where everyone involved, including you, feels respected and at ease. If you have been absorbing the mood of the people around you, taking on their stress, adjusting yourself to their rhythms, this week asks you to reclaim your own energetic territory within your home. You are allowed to need space. You are allowed to need quiet. You are allowed to need beauty and order and a sense of calm that is not dependent on someone else's emotional state. Do not apologize for those needs. They are not excessive. They are essential. And honoring them is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself this week. Start small if you need to. Clear one surface. Rearrange one corner. Open a window and let fresh air move through a room that has felt stagnant. Light something that smells good. Put on music that makes your body relax instead of tense. These small acts are not insignificant, Scorpio. They are rituals of reclamation. They are ways of telling the universe and yourself that you deserve to live in a space that supports who you are becoming, not just who you used to be. Tip 8. Someone close to you is struggling and your role is not what you think it is. You have noticed it, Scorpio. Someone in your inner circle is going through something heavy, and your instinct is to step in, take charge, fix it, carry it, absorb it into your own body so they do not have to feel the weight alone. That instinct comes from a place of genuine love. It comes from the part of you that would rather suffer yourself than watch someone you care about suffer. And in many ways, that is one of the most beautiful things about you. But this week, that instinct is going to lead you in the wrong direction if you are not careful. Because the truth is, the person who is struggling does not need you to fix their problem. They need you to hold space for them to feel their own feelings without rushing them toward a solution. They need you to be present without being controlling. They need you to trust their ability to navigate their own storm, even if watching them struggle makes you uncomfortable. This is one of the hardest lessons for your sign to learn, Scorpio. Because you are built for action. You see a problem and you want to solve it. You see someone hurting and you want to make it stop. But not every problem is yours to solve, and not every hurt is yours to heal. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the space to fall apart and put themselves back together in their own way, on their own timeline with their own hands. That does not mean you disappear. That does not mean you withdraw your love or your attention. It means you change the form your support takes. Instead of leading, you listen. Instead of advising, you ask what they need. Instead of projecting your own experience onto their situation, you let them tell you what it feels like from the inside. This kind of support is harder than fixing. Fixing gives you a sense of control. Listening takes that control away and replaces it with vulnerability. And for someone like you, vulnerability is the one thing that feels more dangerous than anything else. But it is also the thing that deepens every relationship it touches. When you allow yourself to be present with someone without needing to manage the outcome, something shifts between you. A kind of trust forms that cannot be built any other way. The person feels truly seen, not managed. They feel respected, not rescued. And the bond between you becomes stronger than it was before, not because you solved their problem, but because you honored their capacity to solve it themselves. This week, pay attention to where you are overstepping. Pay attention to where your help is actually about your own discomfort rather than their genuine need. Pay attention to the difference between being supportive and being controlling, because the line between those two things is thinner than you think. And if you can walk that line with awareness and grace this week, you will discover something powerful. The people in your life do not need you to be their hero. They need you to be their equal. And being someone's equal means trusting them enough to let them struggle, knowing that the struggle itself is part of their growth. Some people watch, others transform. If you want to be in the second group, the 21-day guide in the pinned comment gives you a clear step-by-step process aligned with your sign. This isn't about waiting, it's about moving. Tip 9. Your intuition is stronger than usual, and ignoring it this week would be a serious mistake. You have always had strong intuition, Scorpio. It is one of the defining features of your sign, the ability to sense things before they happen, to read between the lines of what people say, to feel the energy of a room the moment you walk into it. But this week, that intuition is amplified to a level that might actually catch you off guard. You are going to know things you have no logical reason to know. You are going to feel things that do not seem to belong to your own experience. You are going to have moments of clarity so sudden and so vivid that they almost feel like messages from somewhere outside yourself. And the most important thing I can tell you right now is this. Do not dismiss those moments. Do not rationalize them away. Do not let the logical part of your brain convince you that you are being dramatic or irrational or paranoid. Your intuition is not paranoia. It is pattern recognition operating at a level that your conscious mind cannot fully process. It is your subconscious collecting thousands of tiny data points, facial expressions, vocal tones, shifts in behavior, changes in energy, and synthesizing them into a feeling that arrives in your body before it arrives in your thoughts. That feeling is information. It is valid. And this week, it is more accurate than almost anything else you have access to. Pay particular attention to your gut responses when you meet someone new this week, or when you enter a new environment. Your first impression is going to be remarkably accurate, and if you override it with logic or politeness or the desire to give someone the benefit of the doubt, you might end up in a situation that your body was trying to warn you about. This does not mean you should become suspicious of everyone. It means you should trust the internal compass that has been guiding you your entire life, even when it points in a direction that is inconvenient or uncomfortable. There will be at least one moment this week where your intuition tells you something that contradicts what someone is saying to your face. When that happens, trust your gut over their words, not because they are necessarily lying, but because your intuition is picking up on something that their words are not communicating. Maybe they are not being fully honest. Maybe they are not aware of their own motivations. Maybe there is a layer to the situation that neither of you can see clearly yet. Whatever the case, your inner knowing is trying to protect you, and the smartest thing you can do is listen. There is also a creative dimension to this heightened intuition. Ideas are going to come to you this week that feel like they arrive fully formed, as if they were placed in your mind by something larger than yourself. Write them down. Record them. Capture them in whatever way works for you, because these ideas are not random. They are connected to a larger vision that is trying to take shape in your life. And if you let them slip away because you were too busy or too distracted to pay attention, you might not get them back in quite the same form. Your intuition is a gift, Scorpio. It is not a burden. It is not a source of anxiety. It is the deepest, most reliable form of intelligence you possess. And this week, it is operating at full power. Use it wisely, trust it completely, and watch how differently your week unfolds when you stop second-guessing the part of you that has never once been wrong about the things that truly matter. Tip 10. The version of you that emerges this week is someone you have been waiting to meet. There is a version of you that exists just beyond the edge of where you are right now, Scorpio. A version that is not weighed down by old stories, old fears, old patterns of behavior that have long outlived their usefulness. A version that walks through the world with a quiet confidence that does not need validation from anyone. A version that makes decisions from a place of clarity rather than anxiety. A version that knows exactly what it wants and is not afraid to go after it, even if the path is uncertain, even if the outcome is not guaranteed, even if the whole thing feels like stepping off a cliff into fog. That version of you is not a fantasy. It is not some distant future self that you will only meet after years of therapy and self-help and spiritual seeking. It is here. It is available to you right now, this week, in this exact moment. And the only thing standing between who you are today and who you are becoming is a single decision. The decision to stop waiting. The decision to stop preparing for a life you are already qualified to live. The decision to stop telling yourself that you need to heal just a little more, learn just a little more, grow just a little more before you are ready to step into your power. You are ready. You have been ready for longer than you realize. The preparation is over, Scorpio. The rehearsal has ended. And this week, the curtain goes up whether you feel ready or not. So you might as well step onto the stage with intention rather than hesitation. This does not mean everything has to change overnight. Transformation is not always a thunderbolt. Sometimes it is a slow turning, like a ship adjusting its course by a single degree. And over time, that small adjustment leads you to an entirely different destination. This week, make the adjustment. Change one thing. Just one thing that you have been tolerating, avoiding, procrastinating on, or pretending does not bother you. Make one choice that the old version of you would not have made. Say one thing that the old version of you would have swallowed. Take one step that the old version of you would have been too afraid to take. That is all it takes to start. One choice, one moment of courage, one decision to show up differently, and then the momentum builds. One courageous choice leads to another, which leads to another, which leads to another, until you look up one day and realize you are living a life that actually feels like yours instead of one you inherited by default. This week is the beginning of that process for you. Not the middle, not the end, the beginning. And beginnings are messy and uncertain and full of doubt, but they are also the most exciting part of any story, because everything is still possible and nothing has been written in stone. You are the author of this next chapter, Scorpio. Not your circumstances, not your past, not the people who told you what you could and could not become. You. And the pen is in your hand right now, this week, today. What are you going to write? Whatever it is, make it bold. Make it honest. Make it something that the version of you who exists 5 years from now will look back on and say, that is where everything changed. That is when I finally chose myself. That is when I stopped waiting for permission and started building the life I actually wanted. This week is not just another 7 days on the calendar, Scorpio. It is a turning point. And I know that word gets used too often. I know that every week someone is telling you that everything is about to change, and after a while those words start to lose their weight. But I need you to hear me when I say that this one is different. Not because the stars are aligned in some rare configuration, although the energy is certainly powerful. It is different because you are different. You have been doing work that no one else can see. You have been breaking patterns that have been running in the background of your life for years, maybe decades. You have been slowly, quietly, stubbornly becoming the person you always knew you could be, even when no one around you noticed, even when you were not sure you were making progress, even when you wanted to give up and go back to the way things were. You did not give up. You kept going. And this week, the results of that invisible work begin to show. Not all at once, not in some dramatic reveal, but in the small, steady, undeniable ways that matter most. In the way you hold yourself when you walk into a room. In the way you respond to pressure instead of reacting to it. In the way you set a boundary without apologizing for it. In the way you look at yourself in the mirror and feel something that might, for the first time in a long while, resemble genuine respect. That is not nothing, Scorpio. That is everything. And the world is about to start reflecting back to you the changes you have already made inside yourself. So as this week begins, I want you to carry one thought with you through every moment, every decision, every interaction. The thought is this: you are no longer becoming who you are meant to be. You already are who you are meant to be. The becoming is finished. The being has begun. And everything that happens from this point forward is not preparation for your life. It is your life. Treat it accordingly. Show up for it fully. Protect it fiercely. And never, ever let anyone convince you that you need to shrink in order to fit into a space that was never built for someone of your depth. You were not built for small spaces, Scorpio. You were built for depth, for intensity, for the kind of transformation that scares most people but calls to you like a song you have always known the words to. This is your week. Take your power back. Take it quietly, take it with grace. Take it with the unshakable certainty that you have earned every single bit of what is coming your way. You have two options after this video. Close it and hope things shift, or decide that the next 21 days will be different. If you choose the second, the structured 21-day transformation aligned with your sign is waiting in the pinned comment. The energy is already moving, the only question is whether you are.